Has tipping gone out of hand? Tipping can be seen as a market mechanism that allows consumers to directly reward workers based on the perceived quality of service. In industries like hospitality, dining, tipping provides an incentive for workers to offer excellent service as their income is partially dependent on customer satisfaction. Income varies depending on customers' generosity, moods, and seasonality. This can lead to financial insecurity for workers, especially in low-income areas or slow periods. In many countries such as the US, tipped workers can be paid less than the minimum wage, with the tips expected to fill the gap between minimum wage and what they receive. If the tip doesn't cover the difference between the tip credit and minimum wage, the owners have to pay up to reach minimum wage.
Consultants call it right sizing.
So let's imagine if the minimum wage is $5 an hour and the employee gets tipped $2 an hour, the employer still has to pay the employee $3 to make up for this difference. In these cases, tips are subsidizing the employer because the employer's labor costs went down since the customers are directly paying for the wages of the employee. That's kind of weird. Shouldn't employers pay for employees? Now, the reality is that many servers are making much more than minimum wage, especially in Canada, where we don't really have that below minimum wage top-up system. When I worked as a server, I was getting paid higher than minimum wage and people would still tip. In total, I was getting around double minimum wage. The more attractive girls and bartenders around me were making significantly more. Some were even hitting six-figure salaries. Now, it's a hard job, but there's definitely harder jobs out there. I've had a lot of different jobs and being a server was definitely not the hardest. I was in my early 20s and I was making as much as some middle management office worker here.
Hi.
Hi.
On the flip side, it creates an incentive for servers to prioritize those who look like high-paying customers that will tip more while ignoring others who they think will tip less. And this further perpetuates harmful prejudices. Servers to maximize tipping, like flirting, telling made-up stories that make you feel more personable, or wearing revealing clothing. Now, the question is, when you tip, are you really truly paying for good service? Or are you paying because you think you have a shot with the waitress? To further disparities, especially for workers in low-income areas or there's been a growing movement towards eliminating tipping altogether. Several restaurants have adopted